Warning: this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I do not condone or recommend the usage of illicit drugs, and I especially do not recommend using Diphenhydramine or Benadryl as it is commonly referred to in anything larger than a medical dose. Usage of Diphenhydramine outside of that threshold can lead to serious health complications including seizures or even death. With that said, please enjoy the trip report. Hello everyone, and today we are going to be starting a small two-part series recalling Sedric Lightbury's two famous trip reports, his 1,800 mg and 2,000 mg DPH trips. In this episode, we will be covering his first trip report of 1,800 mg. He posted these trip reports live to 420 Chan's Deliriant board back in 2010, and luckily they have been preserved as text files on paste bin, otherwise, they may have ended up being completely forgotten about. The first part of each trip report is the live report that Sedric gave while tripping, which I'm going to type out minus all the spelling mistakes which I doubt you want to hear this robot voice try to pronounce. With that said, let's get into the trip report. Sedric Lightbury's 1,800 mg DPH trip. Down 1,800 mg DPH a few minutes ago. Before you ask, I am not trying to be a hero, but I do wish to get as close to death as possible. The doors are locked. My phone is off. Wish me luck. Let's see how this goes, shall we? Another poster asked, suicide? Or just having tea with death? Tea with death is what I'm aiming for. Typing this took me way longer than it should have. Not sure if I'll be able to post later on. Trip support will be here. If I stay alive, that is. A few posts later. I weigh 162 pounds. The keyboard is breathing and I can't hear anything. Am I actually typing this? That is the end of the live report. Now, this is what he had to say about the trip after the fact. Holy fucking fuck. I'm alive. I have never appreciated that fact more than I do now. Fuck. I'm still having some visuals. I am having some distortions and feeling sick, but mostly done now. Before I start the trip report, I should warn you, kids, not to do this much DPH. No matter what. I did it, I've seen it, and you don't have to follow my stupidity. You don't want to go there. Trust me. So, about 30 minutes after taking the pills, I started feeling heavy. The feeling was getting increasingly stronger. I tried my best to keep my mind blank, but failed and started freaking out after gaining approx 400 pounds and having my ears ring so badly I couldn't hear anything else, including my own voice when I tried talking. Then, for a short moment, my vision went black and white, then flashed back to normal again. After this, the ringing began to go away, and after it was gone, the visuals kicked in. Hardcore. First thing I remember, my ceiling, walls, and floor were melting and I was being pulled down by an enormous force. However, moving wasn't too difficult after a bit of trying. Every shadow in my room was crawling with insects. Apart from a big juicy taco right above my head, there was a cluster of centipedes on the floor and some of them were running around the table. They wouldn't go away when touched. The longer I stared, the more of them would appear, until I wasn't in my room anymore. Everything around me was a moving, living mess. I don't remember what else happened in this stage, or how did I escape it, but after it went away, some inanimate objects appeared to be breathing and I was afraid to touch them, an example being the keys of the keyboard. I had an extremely dry mouth, so I got up and went to get myself a glass of water. It didn't help much, but I drank a lot anyway. After finishing the third glass, I heard music coming from the other room, so I went there to check it out. The first thing I noticed, there was a human-sized creature standing in the corner. I assumed it was a doll. It would lose its parts, arms, legs, head etc. from time to time, but as soon as I looked away and looked back again, it was whole again. I was afraid to touch it because I was sure it would hurt me. The doll stayed in that corner disassembling and assembling itself again and again during this whole stage of the trip. The second thing I noticed, there was a man dressed in black, his head buried in shadows, sitting on the sofa, and several other people/creatures wandering around, then fading later. Not all of them went away though. Some shadow figures got more human-like in time, and I had some conversations with who I thought were my friends. Everything was extremely realistic. I could touch, hear and smell them. But after a while, most of them went away, but the dark man on the sofa stayed where he was. So I went up to him and sat down as well. I couldn't see his face but didn't pay much attention then. I believe this, my friend, was the HATMAN himself. All the interaction we had was a handshake and a bit of talking. I said hi to him and he said hello, Sedric back. Then, I asked if I was going to die. He was quiet for a while, then said don't go to Ariel. After those words, there was a sudden flash of light and I found myself standing in the kitchen with a broken glass on the floor. I went to check the room I was meant to be at. Nothing was there. Suddenly, I felt that the message I got was very important and I had to tell others. So I went back to the room, to my computer, and tried to post the phrase on this thread, only to find out I was standing at the other side of the room, facing the wall later. Then I would go back to the computer and repeat what I did, but it would always end the same. I was stuck in a loop. This was extremely terrifying. I think nothing during this trip scared me as much as the thought of being stuck in that loop forever. After this was repeated about 6 times, I sent am I actually typing this, which, surprisingly, got through. I was extremely relieved. Then, another flash followed, and I would hear people knocking at my door. I would go and let them in. We talked. Then, one of the guests turned out to be my father, which is dead. I repeat, everything I saw and heard was extremely realistic, and I took it as reality. I was paralyzed by horror for a moment when I realized I was dead. It was so clear now. I took too much DPH, too much to come back from where it took me. I asked my father if I was dead. He said no. Then I asked how can I be here with him, and he answered, if you can be, you are not dead. We mostly just sat together quietly ignoring the others. They were going on with their own conversations when a young dark-haired man came up to me and offered me a cigarette. I took it and smoked for a bit. It would always become a new, freshly lit one after taking my attention off it for a while. Suddenly, the room went silent. I looked around to see what was up. Everyone was gone. My room window was covered with moths now. I figured the people in my room were those moths from the very beginning. After yet another flash, I was laying on my floor, with a Sahara Desert for a mouth and a mild headache. I managed to go and lay down on the bed. There are many blackouts from this point. Basically, all I can remember are whispers, don't go to Ariel, repeating from time to time. I realized I was the one saying that, tacos crawling on my sheets, and visual distortions of the room. My thoughts wouldn't stop bothering me. I thought I could hear screaming. I felt heavy and sick. I probably fell asleep at some point, but I have no clue what I did before each because there are just way too many gaps and no one to tell the story from a different angle. My faith in humanity is completely restored. That is the first of Sedric Lightbury's trip reports, and again I must say that this video is not meant to glorify his actions. Please, and I truly mean please, do not try to replicate this. And if you watch these videos or you're a fan of the channel, but do not use DPH, I am begging you not to start using it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. This is Pills Am I Right signing off, till next time.